My parents said I should give up my home office for my sister's art career. 2 months later, the IRS showed up at my door. Hi everyone! Today's story will blow your mind, but really quick, if you enjoy this content, hit that subscribe button. Channel's been a bit quiet lately, and your support keeps it all going. Let's jump in. Original post, r/relationships. I, 31M, need advice about a situation with my parents, 59M, 57F, and younger sister, 24F, that's making me question if I'm being unreasonable or if my family has completely lost their minds. I bought my first house 18 months ago after years of saving and living frugally. It's a modest 3-bedroom place in the suburbs, nothing fancy, but it's mine. I work as a software architect for a major tech company, and since COVID, my position has been permanently remote. When I bought the house, I specifically chose it because 1 bedroom was perfect for a home office. Great natural light, quiet location away from the street, built-in shelving that runs floor to ceiling. I invested about $8,000 into that office. Dual monitor setup with 4K displays, motorized standing desk, Herman Miller ergonomic chair, professional lighting for video calls, acoustic soundproofing panels on the walls, upgraded electrical outlets for all my equipment, a dedicated fiber internet line, whiteboard walls for planning, and a small server rack for my home lab. This isn't just where I work, it's where I earn my living. My job requires intense focus, frequent video conferences with international clients, and often involves sensitive proprietary information displayed across multiple screens. Last week, my parents called a family meeting. They drove over with my sister Emma, who just graduated with an art degree from a private college that cost them nearly $200,000. They sat me down in my own living room and presented their proposal like it was a business pitch. They even had printed handouts. Emma needs to move back home to launch her art career, but their house is too cramped for her to set up a proper studio. Since I have all this extra space, and family helps family, they think the obvious solution is for Emma to move into my home office. Not just move in with me, specifically take over my office. Their exact words were, "You can work from anywhere with a laptop, James. Emma needs a dedicated space for her creativity to flourish." When I pointed out that I use that office for my actual job that pays my mortgage, my mother actually said, "But you just type on a computer all day. You could do that at the kitchen table." Emma needs proper space for her canvases and supplies. My father added that it would only be temporary, maybe 6 months to a year, just until Emma gets established. He even suggested I could take the smaller 3rd bedroom, currently my gym/storage room, and make do since I'm resourceful with technology. Emma sat there the entire time, nodding along, occasionally chiming in about how much natural light would inspire her morning creative sessions, and how the built-in shelves would be perfect for organizing her supplies. She'd clearly been to my house recently and scoped out the room. Not once did she acknowledge that this is my house that I pay for with a job they're asking me to compromise. I tried explaining. My job requires privacy for confidential calls with healthcare and financial clients. I need multiple monitors for coding and system architecture design. The kitchen table isn't an ergonomic workspace for 8 to 10-hour days. I specifically bought this house to have a proper office. My home lab setup can't just be moved to another room. I'm not comfortable having someone else live in my space indefinitely. My parents' response? I'm being selfish and putting money over family. My mother actually teared up and said she didn't raise me to be so cold-hearted. My father lectured me about how successful people create opportunities for others, and that my corporate job has made me forget what really matters. The kicker: Emma currently lives at home rent-free, has her own bedroom and use of their finished basement, which is roughly 800 square feet. When I asked why she couldn't set up her studio there, my mother said the basement doesn't have the right energy for art, and their neighbor's dog barking is disruptive to the creative process. But somehow my work isn't important enough to merit keeping my own office in my own house? They left after I refused to agree on the spot, but not before my mother made sure to mention how disappointed she was and how my deceased grandmother would be heartbroken to see how materialistic I've become. Emma hugged me goodbye and whispered, "Just think about it, okay? This could be really good for both of us." Since then, I've received daily texts from my mother with links to articles about supporting creative family members, calls from my father about reconsidering my priorities, Instagram messages from Emma with photos of her art and captions like, "Imagine what I could create with proper space." A group family text where my aunt, mother's sister, said I should be honored to support a family artist. Facebook posts from my mother about family disappointments that are clearly about me. LinkedIn messages from Emma about collaboration opportunities. I'm starting to doubt myself. I make good money, around $150,000 a year. I could theoretically work from a laptop. Maybe I am being selfish. But also, I worked hard for this house and that office. I don't want a roommate, especially one who sees my space as their free art studio. Am I the asshole for not wanting to give up my home office? How do I handle this without destroying my family relationships? Update 1, 3 weeks later. Well, I caved. Not proud of it, but the family pressure became unbearable. After my original post, things escalated quickly. My mother showed up at my house unannounced while I was in a client meeting, crying on my doorstep where my neighbors could see, saying I was tearing the family apart. My father called me during an important work presentation. He knew my schedule because I'd shared it to show them how busy I was, to tell me Emma was spiraling into depression because I was crushing her dreams. The final straw was when they organized a full family intervention. I'm talking grandparents, aunts, uncles, cousins, 23 people total at my parents' house for what I thought was Sunday dinner. Instead, it turned into 2 hours of everyone telling me how family supports family, and sharing stories about how their siblings/parents/children helped them in their time of need. They'd even prepared a slideshow of family photos showing all the times we'd been there for each other. Emma gave a tearful speech about how she'd always looked up to her successful big brother and how much it meant that I could be part of her artistic journey. She promised it would only be for 6 months, maximum. She'd be clean, quiet, respectful of my work hours, and would even cook dinner sometimes as a thank you. She presented a written schedule of when she'd use the space and promised to work around my meetings. My cousin recorded the whole thing and said he'd post it on Facebook if I didn't do the right thing. My aunt threatened to uninvite me from her daughter's wedding. My grandmother called from Florida to say she was praying for my soul. So I agreed. God help me, I agreed. Emma moved in 2 weeks ago, and I'm already losing my mind. First, the move-in. I expected maybe a carload of art supplies and clothes. Instead, a full moving truck showed up. Not a van, a truck. Canvases, easels, a pottery wheel, a kiln that she forgot to mention, industrial shelving units, boxes and boxes of supplies, 3 sewing machines, a photography backdrop system, ring lights, and enough personal belongings to stock a small apartment. My parents cheerfully helped unload everything while Emma directed where each item should go for optimal creative flow. My meticulously organized office is now unrecognizable. My desk is shoved into the corner at an angle where I can't see out the window. One monitor is disconnected because she needed that outlet for her essential oil diffuser for artistic inspiration. My soundproofing panels were removed because they absorbed too much creative energy. My ergonomic chair is in the garage because it clashed with the artistic aesthetic. My server rack is covered with a tapestry because the blinking lights were disrupting her color perception. But wait, it gets better. Remember how she promised to be quiet during my work hours? Well, turns out Emma's definition of creating art includes a blasting, inspirational music, everything from Tibetan singing bowls to Norwegian death metal. A taking artistic process videos for her TikTok, which involves her narrating loudly to her phone while painting. A using power tools for her mixed media sculptures at 7 a.m. A having creative consultations with fellow artist friends who drop by unannounced. A running the kiln, which apparently needs to be checked every hour with an alarm she sets. A vocal expression exercises, which sound like someone strangling a cat. A spray painting indoors because it's too cold outside. The cooking dinner promise? She's cooked exactly once, a vegan quinoa bowl that gave me food poisoning and stained my kitchen ceiling when it exploded in the microwave, don't ask. Now she needs to maintain her creative energy, so she orders DoorDash twice a day, always asking if I want anything, then looking hurt when I remind her I'm trying to stick to a budget since I'm now working from a card table in my bedroom. Speaking of which, my temporary workspace is a disaster. The card table wobbles whenever I type. The folding chair is killing my back. I've already had to see a chiropractor twice. I can't fit both monitors, so I'm constantly switching between windows, tanking my productivity. The Wi-Fi barely reaches, so video calls drop constantly. I've had to apologize to clients multiple times for the connectivity issues and background noise. One client asked if I was working from a construction site. But here's the real kicker. Remember how this was about launching her art career? Well, I've discovered Emma's art career consists of a painting inspirational quotes on small canvases that she sells on Etsy for $15 each. She sold 3. A making TikToks about being a struggling artist. She has 847 followers. A starting and abandoning various projects. I count at least 7 half-finished paintings. A spending hours on Pinterest creating mood boards. Online shopping for more art supplies with the credit card our parents gave her. Taking aesthetic photos of coffee cups and calling it documenting the artist's journey. Writing a blog about authentic creative living that has 12 posts and 0 comments. She treats my house like a free hotel. Leaves dishes everywhere. I found a cereal bowl with mold in it behind the couch. Takes hour-long baths with bath bombs that stain my tub and clog the drain. Has friends over constantly for creative collaborations that seem to involve a lot of wine and gossiping. Uses my Netflix, changes all my algorithm preferences, and gets offended when I ask her to use her own profile. Ate my meal prep for the entire week because she thought it was communal food. The utilities have skyrocketed. Between her kiln, the constant lights for artistic ambience, her space heaters in every room, and her running every appliance at odd hours, my electric bill has doubled. When I mentioned this, she got teary and said I was putting a price on her dreams. I tried talking to my parents about establishing some boundaries. Their response? My mother said I should be grateful Emma is filling my house with creative energy instead of corporate sterility. My father suggested I was jealous of Emma's artistic courage, and that my risk-averse corporate mindset was showing. He actually said I should consider this an opportunity to learn from Emma's free spirit. The latest development? Emma announced she's planning an artist showcase and wants to host it at my house. Apparently, my living room has gallery potential. She's already invited 30 people via Facebook and is planning to serve wine and appetizers that she expects me to help pay for because investing in family is the best investment. She's also hinted that some of her art friends might need to crash here afterward because they're coming from out of town. Last night, I found her in my bedroom going through my closet because she needed corporate clothes for an interview at Starbucks but didn't want to compromise her artistic identity by actually buying any. I'm at my wit's end. My work is suffering. I've made more mistakes in the past 2 weeks than in the previous 2 years. My sleep is shot. My house doesn't feel like mine anymore. But every time I try to address it, I'm the bad guy who's stifling creativity and choosing capitalism over family. I'm seriously considering selling the house just to escape this situation. I've even looked at studio apartments, which would actually give me more usable space than I have now. How did I let it get this bad? Update 2 months later. I can't believe I'm back here, but the situation has somehow gotten worse. Like, catastrophically worse. If you thought it couldn't get more insane than my last update, buckle up. After my last post, I tried to establish boundaries. I really did. I sat Emma down with a written roommate agreement, quiet hours, space usage, utility contributions, guest policies, basic cleanliness standards. Normal adult stuff. She cried. Said I was treating her like a tenant instead of family, and that contracts kill creativity. Then she called our parents while still sitting at my kitchen table. The next day, my parents showed up for an emergency family meeting. But this time, they brought reinforcements. My mother's therapist sister, Aunt Linda, who spent an hour explaining how my rigid boundaries were a form of emotional violence against creative expression. She actually used terms like artistic suppression syndrome and suggested I was projecting my own abandoned dreams onto Emma. I'm not making this up. But that's not even the main event. Last week, my annual performance review came up. Despite everything, I'd managed to maintain decent productivity by working early mornings, 4 a.m. to 7 a.m. before Emma woke up, and late nights, 10 p.m. to 2 a.m. after she went to bed, when Emma was asleep. The review went well, until my manager mentioned they were considering me for a senior architect position. It would mean a 30% salary increase but also more responsibility, complex projects, and frequent video presentations to C-suite executives. I was excited. This is what I'd been working toward for years. I made the mistake of sharing the news at family dinner that night. Big mistake. Huge. My father's response: so you're choosing to dive even deeper into corporate servitude instead of using your success to lift up your family? My mother: James, don't you think it's time to consider what really matters? Emma is trying to bring beauty into the world while you're just making rich people richer. And Emma, sweet Emma, looked at me with those big eyes and said, I thought maybe seeing me pursue my passion would inspire you to find yours. But I guess some people are just meant to be corporate drones. I thought that was bad enough. Then, 3 days ago, they held another intervention. This time, they came with a PowerPoint. I'm not joking. My retired father created an actual 43-slide presentation titled Reimagining Success, a Family Proposal. The gist: I should decline the promotion and reduce my hours to part-time. This would give me space to explore my own creativity. The salary reduction wouldn't matter because I have enough savings. I could become Emma's business manager and help launch her art career properly. Together, we could turn my house into an artist collective and rent rooms to other creative types. This would be my chance to give back and create a legacy beyond corporate profits. The presentation included cherry-picked articles about people who left corporate jobs for creative pursuits, testimonials from Emma's artist friends about how transformative communal creative spaces are, a business plan, and I use that term loosely, for turning my house into some kind of art commune, photos of my soulless office space versus Emma's vibrant studio setup, a timeline showing how I could transition over 6 months, financial projections that assumed Emma would be making $10,000 a month within a year, quotes from various philosophers about the meaning of life, a slide titled, "What Would Grandma Really Want?" with her photo. When I said absolutely not, that I worked hard for my career and had no interest in managing Emma's hobby or turning my house into a commune, all hell broke loose. My father accused me of being brainwashed by capitalism and said I was everything wrong with his generation. My mother sobbed that she failed as a parent because I value money over human connection. She actually fell to her knees in my living room. Emma screamed that I was jealous of her courage to live authentically and that my corporate overlords had killed my soul. She threw a painted canvas at my TV. Aunt Linda, who was there again, naturally, diagnosed me with success addiction and offered to provide therapy to help me break free from achievement-oriented thinking. She left business cards. The grand finale. My mother stood up and announced that if I was going to choose corporate slavery over family, then I was no longer welcome at family gatherings until I remembered who raised me. Emma added that she'd be forced to share her heartbreak with her TikTok followers about how her corporate brother chose profits over supporting family dreams. My father said I had 1 week to reconsider before they re-evaluated our relationship. They all left together, Emma pausing at the door to grab another box of supplies she'd ordered with my Amazon account. So here I am. My family has essentially disowned me for wanting to advance in my career and keep my own house? Emma's still here, by the way. Despite the dramatics, she hasn't made any moves to leave. In fact, she's gotten worse. Music at all hours, more friends over, more mess, more entitled behavior. She's now telling anyone who'll listen that she's courageously pursuing art despite family rejection. The promotion. I'm probably going to lose it because I can barely function working from my bedroom while construction paper and glitter bombs explode in what used to be my office. Yesterday, glitter somehow got into my laptop keyboard. IT had to issue me a replacement. I've started looking at apartments. Yes, I'm considering abandoning my own house because evicting my sister would apparently make me worse than Satan in my family's eyes. I keep thinking about my grandmother, who they keep invoking. She was an Italian immigrant who worked 3 jobs to put my father through college. She scrubbed floors and cleaned offices at night so her children could have opportunities. Something tells me she'd have opinions about all this that wouldn't align with their family supports creativity narrative. I'm done. I'm looking into legal eviction procedures, family disownment or not. I'm also changing my locks, passwords, and going low contact with everyone involved. We'll update when the dust settles. Probably from my new apartment while Emma and her artist friends squat in my house and my parents tell everyone how their heartless corporate son abandoned family. Final update, 1 month later. This will be my last update, and honestly, it's because the ending is so absurd I almost don't believe it happened myself. Strap in, because this is going to be wild. After my last post, I consulted a lawyer. Turns out, Emma had established tenancy rights, so eviction would be a months-long process. The lawyer suggested offering cash for keys, basically paying her to leave. The irony of paying someone to leave my house wasn't lost on me. He ballparked it at $5,000 to make it worth her while. While weighing my options, I got a call from my elderly neighbor, Mrs. Chen. She was concerned because she'd seen lots of young people coming and going at all hours, and there was strange smoke coming from my backyard. She also mentioned seeing someone climbing out of a second-story window at 3 a.m. My security cameras, thank God I had them, confirmed Emma had been hosting nightly art gatherings while I was hiding in my bedroom with noise-canceling headphones. Then came the water bill. $800. $800. Turns out, Emma had been running the kiln constantly and decided to add a water feature to the backyard for inspiration. Basically a kiddie pool she kept emptying and refilling for different creative energies. She'd also been taking multiple baths a day for artistic cleansing and running the washing machine for single items to maintain the energy of her creative garments. I was done. I texted Emma that we needed to talk and set up an appointment with the lawyer for that Friday. I was prepared for war. I documented everything, saved receipts, taken photos. I was ready. Wednesday night, I woke up to the fire alarm. I ran downstairs to find Emma in tears, smoke billowing from the kitchen. She decided to expand her artistic medium to pottery and was trying to fire pieces in my regular oven at 500 degrees. She'd lined them with newspaper for authentic ash effects. The oven was destroyed. The kitchen reeked. There was ash everywhere. The ceramic pieces had exploded, embedding shards in my cabinets. But here's where it gets interesting. The fire department showed up, and guess what they found? Emma's kiln in the garage wasn't properly ventilated and was a massive fire hazard. They red-tagged it and said it needed to be removed immediately. They also discovered she'd been running extension cords in a way that violated about 12 fire codes. The fire marshal was not happy. While dealing with the firefighters, I noticed Emma frantically texting. Within an hour, my parents showed up. I expected another lecture about supporting family, but instead, my father was white. Like, corpse pale. My mother was clutching her phone with shaking hands. Turns out, Emma hadn't just been making art. She'd been running an unlicensed business out of my house. Not just selling crafts, she was teaching intimate artistic workshops for $200 a person, advertising my address online, and hadn't reported any income. She'd also been subletting my spare bedroom on Airbnb as an artist's retreat, without my knowledge, pocketing the cash. But wait, it gets better. How did my parents find out? Because one of Emma's students was an IRS employee who'd noticed some discrepancies and decided to dig deeper. They'd already started an investigation. Emma had been bragging on Instagram about making 6 figures from her art, while simultaneously applying for government assistance programs for struggling artists. The Airbnb thing came to light because one of her guests had been running an illegal tattoo parlor out of my spare bedroom and someone got infected. They were threatening to sue, and guess whose homeowner's insurance would be on the hook? My parents went from family supports family to, Emma, what have you done? In record time. Suddenly, my corporate job didn't seem so soulless, especially when my father realized Emma's tax fraud could impact their finances since they'd been gifting her money and claiming tax deductions for supporting a dependent artist. My mother, the same woman who'd cried about my lack of family values, turned to Emma and said, "You told us you were building an art career, not running some scheme." Emma tried to play victim, saying she was just trying to survive as an artist, and that society forces creatives to bend rules. She looked at me for support, apparently forgetting she'd been destroying my house and life for months. The best part? One of her Airbnb guests had left a review mentioning the authentic artist commune experience, and the owner James who lives in his bedroom while artists create in the spaces. With photos of my house, my office-turned-studio, and one particularly damning shot of my mail on the counter with my full name and address visible. My lawyer had a field day. Fraud, tax evasion, operating a business without licenses, violating zoning laws, subletting without permission, insurance fraud. She'd been claiming her art supplies were stolen for insurance money. The list went on. Suddenly, Emma wanted to leave. In fact, she couldn't pack fast enough. But here's the cherry on top. While packing, we discovered Emma had been selling my belongings. My gaming console, some collectible figures, tools from the garage, even some of my clothes, all sold on Facebook Marketplace to fund her art supplies. She'd been telling buyers she was decluttering for her minimalist brother. My parents, terrified of legal implications, offered to pay for the oven replacement, cover the water bill, pay for professional cleaning, cover my legal fees, give me a written apology, replace everything Emma had sold, pay for therapy for me. They also mysteriously found Emma a studio apartment on the other side of town and paid 6 months up front. Suddenly, they had money they claimed they didn't have when Emma was asking to live with me. The family narrative changed overnight. Now I'm the responsible one who tried to help but was taken advantage of. My mother tells everyone how proud she is of my patience and maturity. My father mentions my upcoming promotion to anyone who'll listen, talking about how my business acumen could have helped Emma if only she'd been honest. They've conveniently forgotten the PowerPoint presentation and the whole choosing corporate slavery thing. Emma. She's posted exactly once on TikTok, a vague story about growing from mistakes, and the journey of an artist includes dark chapters. Comments were brutal. Turns out, some of her students weren't happy about the whole IRS situation. One person commented that they'd paid for a workshop that Emma never showed up to. Another said Emma had sold them a custom piece that was actually something she'd stolen from a local coffee shop. I got my house back. My office is restored, with upgrades paid for by my parents. I kept the security footage and documentation in case anyone develops amnesia about what really happened. The promotion. Still on track, though I had to explain the temporary home office situation to my manager, who was surprisingly understanding and impressed by how I'd handled everything. The family group chat still exists, but now it's mostly recipe sharing and birthday wishes. Emma isn't invited to family dinners anymore, not by my choice, but my parents think it's best to give everyone space to heal. They've also started asking me for financial advice, which is ironic considering 2 months ago I was a corporate drone. The last I heard, Emma was working at a frame shop and living with 3 roommates. She sent me one text, "I hope you're happy in your corporate prison." I responded with a photo of my restored office and my promotion letter. Then I blocked her. Petty? Maybe. Satisfying? Absolutely. The IRS situation is still ongoing. The infection lawsuit was settled by insurance. The fire department fines totaled $2,000, which my parents paid immediately. Mrs. Chen baked me cookies and said she was glad that chaos was over. She also mentioned she'd been documenting everything for the HOA, just in case. My grandmother would be proud. The woman who worked 3 jobs didn't do it so her grandchildren could mooch off each other. She did it so we could each build our own success. I actually found a letter she'd written to my father years ago about the importance of hard work and self-sufficiency. I may frame it for my office. Anyway, that's it. I'm done with family drama for a while. Going to focus on my promotion, maybe take a vacation somewhere Emma hasn't posted about on Instagram. Thinking about Japan, somewhere with a strong work ethic and respect for personal space. To everyone who said I should have kicked her out immediately, you were right. To those who said family is complicated, you were also right. To the person who said to check for hidden cameras, thank you. Found 3. That's a whole other legal issue. Thanks for following this bizarre journey. May your home offices remain your own, and may your families respect your boundaries. Edit. Since people are asking. Yes, the IRS investigation is ongoing. I've been cleared of any wrongdoing since I have proof I wasn't aware of her business ventures. The fire department fine was $2,000, which my parents paid. The infection lawsuit was settled for $15,000 by my insurance, but my rates went up. I've upgraded my security system and yes, I have cameras in common areas now. I did get the promotion, 32% raise actually. And no, I haven't forgiven anyone. Cordial at family events is the best they'll get. The oven was a $3,000 replacement. Parents paid in cash. Mrs. Chen gets a lovely holiday basket every year now. Emma blocked me on all social media. I consider this a win. The hidden cameras were cheap Amazon ones. One in my office, one in my bedroom, one in the bathroom. Lawyer is handling it. Yes, I changed all my locks and passwords. The house has been professionally cleaned, including the glitter. Cost $1,200. I'm in therapy. It's helping. My back is better after returning to my proper chair. The kiln removal cost $500. It had actually damaged my garage floor. I've started a home office blog about remote work setups. It's therapeutic. No plans to sell the house anymore. It's mine and I'm keeping it.